In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to expose the real reason you keep failing in trading, and more importantly, I'll show you exactly how to fix it for good. Richard Dennis, one of the most legendary traders, a guy that turned $400 into $500 million, once said, "I could publish my trading rules in the New York Times and still no one would follow them. Because trading is not about knowing the rules, it's about executing them when it matters." Let me ask you a question. How many times have you been 100% sure about a trade only to sabotage yourself at the very last second? Maybe it's fear, maybe it's hesitation, whatever it is, it's not your strategy that's failing you, it's your brain. This is exactly the reason most traders fail, even when they know exactly what to do. It's the psychological side of trading that constantly gets in the way. But what if I told you there's a way to break that cycle and start trading with the clarity and confidence you always wanted? What if you could execute without the fear, the stress, the second guessing? Keep watching, because what I'm about to share could be the key to unlocking your full trading potential. I'm Guy Levy. I've been trading for over 14 years, and I started my career working for a fintech company that develops strategies for the futures market. So from day one, I had access to strategies that were already proven profitable. But even with those strategies in hand, I still couldn't follow them. I would hesitate, I would second guess myself, and I get emotional when it matters most. For the first 6 years, I was convinced that the problem was knowledge. I thought if I could just learn the right strategy or find the right technique, I'd crack the code. But no matter how much I studied, it didn't fix the real issue, the emotional side of trading that was sabotaging my result. It wasn't about knowledge, it was about how my brain reacted when the pressure was on. That's what I'm here to show you today. How to break free from those psychological barriers that are holding you back and keeping you from reaching your full potential as a trader. Here's the thing. Most traders don't have a strategy problem, they have an execution problem. I call it the execution gap. And let me be real with you. The execution gap isn't some abstract concept. It's the gap between knowing exactly what to do in your trades and actually doing it when the pressure is on. And this gap, it's the difference between being a successful trader or being stuck in the same cycle of self-sabotage, fear, and hesitation. And this is how it looks like. You've got a trade line up, and if you just followed your plan, you'd walk away with a $20,000 profit. But instead of holding your position, you chickened out. You closed it early for a fraction of that, and you got a $200 profit. And then what happens? You watch the market moves exactly to the profit target like you knew it would. But you weren't in it because you didn't have the balls to hold the position. That's the execution gap at work. Or maybe it's a losing trade. You should have taken the $100 loss and call it a day, but no. You kept holding, hoping it will turn around, and before you know it, your account's bleeding out, and you're left sitting there watching your own freaking account burn down. This is how the execution gap eats away your trading career. And then there's the trade you didn't even get into. The setup was perfect, right in front of you, but you hesitated. And now you're stuck watching the market take off without you, knowing you should have been in the trade, but you weren't because fear paralyzed you. Or even worse, you try to chase the trade you just missed and end up opening a position at the wrong time. That's the execution gap in action. It steals away your profit, drains your account, and destroys your confidence. Sometimes it can wipe out an entire account in a day. And sometimes it's sneaky, showing up with those small mistakes, like closing a trade too soon or too early. But over time, those small mistakes adds up, and that gap is the reason you keep failing as a trader. Look, I've been there myself. 4 times I've wiped out my own account because I couldn't close this gap. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't fix this, if you don't close this execution gap, your trading career is gone. Now, this trading gap exists because of 3 psychological problems. And once you fix this, the execution gap disappears. And that's when trading becomes fluid, natural, and consistent. Now, the first problem is something known as an amygdala hijack. The amygdala is a small part of your brain responsible for processing emotions, especially fears. It's designed to protect you by activating your fight or flight response in dangerous situations. And here's the problem. When the amygdala is activated, it takes the control away from the cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision making and planning, and flip the switch to survival mode. Your plans, your money management rules, your strategies, all of those are stored in the cortex, the logical part of your brain. But when the amygdala hijacks the cortex, all that logic is shut down, and now your instincts are in control. And that's why it's called an amygdala hijack, because it hijacks the control from the prefrontal cortex. No logic, only emotions. That's your biggest problem. So when you're in a trade and things start to go off, even though you know exactly what you should do, your brain gets hijacked. fear kicks in, emotions take over, and you're no longer thinking logically. It's not about discipline, it's survival mode. And that's when the bad decisions start. Your emotions run the show and you lose control. The second problem is something that almost every trading psychology program talks about but doesn't actually teach: probability thinking. Now, I'm sure you understand that there are no certainties in the market. You know this logically, but the brain isn't wired to think in probabilities. Our brains are programmed to seek certainty. This is why when you're in a trade, you're constantly searching for something that will tell you this trade is definitely going to work, but that certainty doesn't exist in the market. And when the pressure is on, the logical understanding of probabilities flies out the window. What you need is a practical way to rewire your brain to truly think in probabilities, but in real time during the trade. The third issue is even deeper. It's about subconscious programming. Most of your subconscious programs were formed at a very young age. And here's the thing: if your reality doesn't match with your subconscious programming, the subconscious always wins. It's like a defense mechanism your brain used to keep things the same, to stay in the comfort zone. And when it comes to trading, this could be programs about money, success, or even your own self-worth. For example, let's say you start making a big profit in a trade. Suddenly you find yourself making irrational moves, taking bigger risks, or giving back all your gains. This isn't just a mistake, it's your subconscious going against you. The only way to break through this barrier is by reprogramming those deep-rooted programs so they align with the success you want to achieve. And this isn't some feel-good theory. This is the root of your trading psychology problems, and it needs to be fixed at the core. So how do you fix these problems? How do you close the execution gap for good? The Trading Psychology Accelerator is built around the execution bridge, a system I developed to close the execution gap once and for all. The execution gap is what stands between what you know you should do and what you actually end up doing when the pressure is on. The TPA program gives you the tools and training to bridge that gap, and it's broken down into 3 practical steps. The first step is the amygdala blockage protocol. This isn't based on theory, it's grounded in science. The goal here is to reduce the activity of your amygdala, which is responsible for this impulsive, fear-driven decision you make when you're in a trade. When your amygdala is triggered, it hijacks your logical thinking. That's why you keep finding yourself saying, "I knew I shouldn't have done that," after a bad trade. I call it post-trade clarity. The moment you realize what you did was wrong, only after the damage is done. The amygdala blockage protocol works step by step to keep the amygdala switched off, so you can trade without getting hijacked by fear or impulse. This alone will solve 80% of your psychological trading problems. Step 2 is the probability system. It's not just about understanding probability on a logical level. We all know there are no certainties in the market. The real challenge is training your brain to actually think in probabilities when you're in the heat of the moment. Most trading psychology programs tell you that you need to think in probabilities, but they don't give you the tools to actually do it. In this step, I'll give you specific science-backed trading exercise that will rewire your brain naturally to think in probabilities. It's about creating new neural pathways that allow you to make decisions like a professional trader even when the pressure is on. The third step is the subconscious reboot method. This is where we find those deep-rooted programs in your subconscious. These are the patterns you've been running on autopilot for years, maybe since childhood. And if you don't reprogram them, they'll keep sabotaging you, no matter how much you know or how good your strategy is. This method will help you to melt these programs and to write new programs on top of them, freeing you to execute your trades the way you know you need to. Now, when you combine these 3 steps, you're not learning more theory, you're bridging the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. That's why I call it the execution bridge. The problem with 99% of trading psychology is that it's just theory, ideas stuck in the logical part of the brain. But in the heat of a trade, your logical brain isn't the one in control. This system is designed to give the logical part of your brain the control it needs, so you can make clear, rational decisions even under pressure. My goal is to take you beyond the theory and give you the practical tools to apply it. This is what's missing from most programs, the actionable, science-based step that allows you to do what you already know. And this isn't just some online course where you watch a bunch of videos and hope for the best. This is a full-on 13 weeks of live coaching sessions with real accountability, real feedback, and a group of traders who are going through the same process with you. When you finish the Trading Psychology Accelerator, you will have your own strategy, your own discretionary trading plan, and most importantly, you will fix the 3 core problems that are holding you back. I've worked with traders for years, and I've been in the trenches myself. I know what it's like to struggle with the execution gap, and I've built this system to fix it from the root. You'll get the support, the guidance, and the accountability you need to make the changes stick. If this sounds like what you've been missing, apply to the TPA now.